The imposing mansion stood proudly in the most luxurious neighborhood of the city, a symbol of Michael's undeniable success. From the height of its expansive windows, he gazed over his property with a certain pride, remembering the countless sleepless nights and sacrifices that led him to this moment. Wealthy, influential, and respected, he was the portrait of an accomplished man. By his side was Rachel, his wife, always so elegant, appearing to share in his satisfaction, though she carried a mystery in her eyes he failed to notice. "Is this what they call paradise on earth, Michael?" she asked in a voice almost too soft. He smiled, embracing her. "Yes, Rachel, this is everything I ever dreamed of, and it's only just beginning for us." Michael had built his empire with blood, sweat, and determination. Exhaustive dedication to work was simply part of his life. Rachel knew this and, in a way, admired her husband for his insatiable drive. "Tonight, let's go out for dinner." "I reserved that restaurant you love," he said, his voice full of excitement. "You deserve the best, Rachel." She smiled, accepting his invitation with a discreet nod, while hiding a subtle expression of disdain. He, busy with his schedule and glued to his cell phone, failed to notice the slight change in her face. Michael's world revolved around appointments, contracts, and major decisions, and he believed Rachel was the perfect partner to support him. But Michael was, above all, a man of rigid values who believed that every success needed to be shared with those by his side. "All of this is for us, for our future, Rachel. I want you always to feel secure, surrounded by the best of everything," he said, watching her adjust a pearl necklace in the mirror. "I know, Michael. I'm very lucky to be by your side," she replied, slightly enigmatic as she turned to face him, hiding any trace of dissatisfaction. He smiled, convinced that what he had built was solid and true. To him, the life he created was the best it could be. For Michael, it was just another one of Rachel's frequent nights out, where she claimed she was going to the movies. He didn't suspect a thing, focused as he was on his business and responsibilities. "Enjoy the movie, dear," he'd say, pleased to see his wife taking a bit of time for herself. But the reality was different. Instead of going to the movies, Rachel always drove to a supermarket parking lot near the mansion, where she met Terry, Michael's younger brother, who shared with her a dangerous goal: finding a way to eliminate Michael and get their hands on his fortune. That night, Rachel arrived punctually at the meeting spot, adjusting the rearview mirror before getting out of the car. It didn't take long before she saw Terry waiting, leaning against a post, his gaze steady and determined. "So, everything's ready?" he asked bluntly, his voice low and cautious. "Yes, it is," replied Rachel, glancing around to ensure they were alone. She detailed how Michael would be taking the car early the next morning for an important meeting, calling it a perfect plan as no one would suspect an accident. Terry nodded in satisfaction. For both of them, this was their golden moment to seize Michael's fortune, a plan they believed was flawless. Rachel and Terry's ambition wasn't only to be free of Michael but also to secure the comfort and wealth his money could provide. They had already worked out the details. Terry, who had access to the mansion's garage due to the trust his brother placed in him, would take care of tampering with Michael's brakes, ensuring that everything appeared natural. "That way, it'll seem like a misfortune, something beyond control," Terry commented without a hint of hesitation. "With this, no one will suspect, and the fortune will be yours, Rachel," he concluded with an ambitious smile. She simply nodded, satisfied and confident that after this plan she'd have everything she desired. What neither of them knew was that on that same night, a street boy was hiding in the parking lot, looking for shelter from the cold. William, a clever and observant boy, noticed the suspicious whispers and gestures of the couple. Curious, he quietly crept closer, hiding behind one of the parked cars, and began listening to every word. He quickly understood that Michael, the man they mentioned, was the target of a plot for Rachel and Terry to take all his money. Even though he was young, William felt the gravity of what he had overheard. While Rachel and Terry exchanged glances, reaffirming their commitment to the plan, William listened intently, processing their story. "Tomorrow, he leaves early." "There's no mistake," said Rachel confidently. "Exactly, and he has no idea what's coming," Terry replied, laughing with a tone of anticipated victory. To them, it was only a matter of time until Michael was out of the picture and the fortune fully under Rachel's control. But to William, it sounded like a dangerous warning, a plot he knew he needed to dismantle. Despite the fear pulsing in his chest, William realized he had to act. With no family or home, he lived on the streets and knew that to most people he was invisible. Yet his conscience weighed on him, and he felt the need to do something to prevent this injustice. Rachel and Terry said their goodbyes, agreeing not to contact each other until the next day, when, in their minds, they'd be one step closer to inheriting everything. They left the parking lot, certain that no one would ever know about their conspiracy. However, William, with a tight heart, was determined to warn Michael, even if he didn't know how he would be received. As the two conspirators walked away, William pondered what to do. He didn't know Michael, but he knew that man was in danger and would lose everything due to the greed of these two. As Rachel bid farewell to Terry and walked back to her car, William remained hidden, watching her movements. The dark plan he had just overheard still echoed in his mind, and he knew he needed to find out where she lived. As soon as Rachel started her car and left the parking lot, the boy made a bold decision: he would follow her that very night. He knew that if he waited until the next day, it could be too late to stop what they planned for Michael. William began trailing her through the streets, trying to keep his distance so as not to be noticed but without losing sight of her. Although he was just a boy, his life on the streets had taught him to be discreet, to go unnoticed. Rachel drove, unaware that someone was following her every turn a few meters behind. The surroundings began to change. The houses grew larger and more luxurious until she finally turned down a tree-lined lane. The boy knew he was getting closer to discovering where Michael lived. As he turned the corner, William saw the mansion. Even in the dark, he could make out the grand contours of the property, the tall gates, the lights illuminating the entry path, and the imposing structure of the house. He was impressed by the size and beauty of the place, but at the same time, the weight of what Rachel and Terry planned made the scene feel more threatening than welcoming. Rachel entered the gates without hesitation, and William watched as she disappeared, leaving the boy there, hidden in the shadows of the trees, concealed by the night. William moved a bit closer, taking in the house where the man in danger lived. He felt a mix of urgency and fear, knowing he would have to tell him everything he had overheard. Despite being just a child, he knew he couldn't ignore the responsibility of preventing what was about to happen. "I have to tell him. He needs to know what they're plotting," he murmured softly to himself, trying to gather the courage needed to approach a stranger who seemed untouchable to him. As he observed the mansion, William thought about how to approach Michael. He had nothing but his word and knew he was just a street boy, someone usually unnoticed or not taken seriously. But as he remembered the conversation between Rachel and Terry, his fear gave way to unwavering determination. "I don't know how, but I will make Michael believe me. I have to try. If I don't do something, a tragedy will happen," he whispered, more to himself than to the night surrounding him. That illuminated grand house seemed to be the symbol of a perfect life, and the contrast with what he knew about Rachel and Terry made the boy feel a heaviness in his chest. How could someone so close desire to remove Michael just to inherit his money? William, who had learned early on the value of survival on the streets, couldn't comprehend how anyone could be willing to destroy a life purely for greed. And it was this realization that gave him the final push he needed to decide that, as soon as he had the chance, he would introduce himself to Michael. William stayed hidden in the shadows for a few more minutes, observing every detail of the mansion to ensure he would remember the way there. With the image of the house etched in his mind, he quietly walked away, determined to return and tell the millionaire the truth, not knowing if he would be heard but believing his attempt could make all the difference. The next morning, William arrived early and positioned himself strategically near the gates of Michael's mansion. He had spent the night thinking about everything he'd overheard and felt an almost suffocating urgency to warn that man about the plot unfolding in the shadows. But at the same time, the fear of not being taken seriously haunted him like a shadow. "What if he ignores me? What if he doesn't believe me?" he muttered to himself, trying to gather courage. However, as he remembered Rachel and Terry's laughter while plotting, his determination grew. He couldn't allow something so terrible to happen. Time seemed to drag until, finally, William saw Michael's car approaching the gates. He waited until the vehicle was closer and, in a desperate impulse, ran to intercept it, frantically waving. Michael was startled, surprised to see a boy suddenly appear in his path. "What are you doing here?" Michael asked with a mixture of irritation and surprise, rolling down the window. "I need to speak to you. It's urgent." It's about your safety, William replied, trying to sound as serious as possible. Michael looked at him with suspicion, but something in the boy's expression made him pause. All right, speak quickly. What's so important? Michael said, frowning. William took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the words he was about to say. I overheard a conversation. A conversation between your wife and your brother, Terry, he began, watching Michael's every reaction. They're planning something. They want something to happen to you so they can get all your money. Michael's expression changed. His eyes narrowed, and he let out a disbelieving laugh. That's absurd. Rachel and Terry? They would never do that. But William persisted, each word coming out with desperate urgency. I know it sounds strange, but it's true. I heard everything last night. They talked about tampering with your car, something that would cause an accident. Please, sir, just check the brakes before you leave. I know what I heard, he said with pleading eyes. The intensity in the boy's voice, combined with the genuine fear in his gaze, made Michael hesitate. Something within him, a nearly involuntary instinct, warned him about what the boy was saying. Even without fully believing, he decided to follow William's advice, if only to dispel any doubt. Michael got out of the car, his heart racing, and went to the garage. He asked his personal mechanic to inspect the brakes, and after a few minutes of silence, the result was a devastating revelation: the brakes had, in fact, been tampered with. He felt a chill run up his spine, the idea of what it meant hitting him like an avalanche. The trust he had always had in Rachel began to dissolve in a cloud of doubt and disbelief. This can't be happening, not her, not my brother, he murmured, feeling a mixture of shock and betrayal that he could barely process. Certainly, here's the next part of the story. William watched everything closely, his attentive eyes capturing each reaction of Michael. Seeing the expression of horror forming on the man's face, he sensed that Michael finally understood the gravity of the situation. Michael turned to the boy, now without the look of suspicion. Instead, there was a recognition of the courage the boy had shown by risking everything to tell him the truth. Why did you do this, boy? Why would you risk so much to warn someone you don't even know? Michael asked, his voice filled with genuine curiosity. William lowered his head, unsure of how to answer. I just knew it was wrong and that you needed to know. Still stunned, Michael reflected on the situation unfolding before him. The wife he had trusted so much, the brother he had always supported, conspiring to remove him from the picture. He could barely believe it, but the evidence was there, and now he knew his life was truly in danger. The look he gave William held more than gratitude, it was also a silent apology for almost dismissing the warning that, if ignored, could have cost him his life. Without wasting time, Michael composed himself and turned back to William with newfound resolve. I owe you my life, boy. I don't know how, but I'll find a way to reward this courage. William simply nodded, still processing what had just happened. That morning, after discovering his car's brakes had been sabotaged, Michael felt the crushing weight of betrayal, still trying to process the idea that Rachel and Terry were plotting against him. He returned to find William, the street boy who had risked everything to warn him. With his mind reeling, Michael knelt to William's height and, with deep sincerity, said, You saved my life, boy. If it weren't for you, I might not be here now. William only nodded, still amazed at the millionaire's gratitude but determined to continue helping. Michael knew he couldn't handle this situation alone. He needed someone he could trust, someone to help him keep the secret and think of a way to stop Rachel and Terry without arousing their suspicion. I need you to stay by my side, boy. We're going to expose these two for who they really are, said Michael, observing the determined expression on William's face. The boy nodded, understanding the importance of what he had started. I'll help you. They won't even know we're onto them, he replied with a resolute air. Thinking quickly, Michael began crafting a plan. He knew that confronting Rachel and Terry wasn't enough. They needed to feel the weight of their actions and believe their plan had succeeded. I'm going to change my will, said Michael, thinking aloud. I'll arrange it so that if I die suspiciously, Rachel gets nothing. William listened intently, realizing this would block any chance for Rachel and Terry to profit from their plot. So even if they go through with it, they won't gain anything? Asked the boy, a spark of understanding in his eyes. Michael nodded, pleased to see that the boy understood. As he explained the plan to William, Michael realized the impressive courage and loyalty of the street boy. Despite all he had been through, William displayed a maturity and sense of justice that impressed him. From now on, we act together. I'll make sure you never have to worry about anything again, and you, in return, will be my eyes and ears, said Michael firmly. William, moved by being treated as someone Michael fully trusted, nodded, determined to be part of the plan until the end. To prevent Rachel and Terry from suspecting anything, Michael knew they needed an additional step. After a moment of reflection, he looked at William and said, besides changing the will, we're going to do something more. I'll stage an accident. They need to believe they succeeded, that their plan worked. William's eyes widened in surprise, but soon a smile of understanding appeared on his face. So they'll think you're gone and everything will be safe, murmured the boy, already imagining the impact it would have on Rachel and Terry. Michael agreed, noting William's growing confidence. Exactly. With that, they'll think everything went as planned, and when they're confident, we'll reveal everything, Michael concluded, satisfied. The boy nodded, more certain than ever that he was on the right side. The decisive night arrived, and Michael and William were ready to execute the plan they had been perfecting. Before heading to the road, Michael stopped at a predetermined spot and picked up William, who was waiting anxiously. The boy entered the car and exchanged a determined look with Michael. It's time, kid. We need everything to look real, so they'll believe it completely, Michael said, gripping the wheel tightly. William nodded seriously. I'm with you, Mr. Michael. Let's do this, he replied, his voice filled with courage and determination. Michael drove calmly to a deserted road where they had planned to stage the accident. Earlier, he had told Rachel he would spend a few days at the country house to relax. Rachel, satisfied, said goodbye with a subtle smile. Take care, dear, and enjoy the rest, she said, believing the end was near and that she would finally get what she desired. Michael, keeping a neutral expression, hid what he knew and set off, taking William with him to the point where they would take the next step of the plan. When they arrived at the isolated area, Michael and William got out of the car and began preparing the scene. The boy observed everything closely, ensuring no detail was left that might reveal it was all a ruse. He searched the car's interior to make sure there were no belongings of Michael's that could identify him. Everything's clear here, sir, said William with a firmness that impressed Michael. Perfect, he replied, pleased with the boy's precision. The next step was the most delicate. Michael prepared the device that would trigger the fire, transforming the car into a pile of metal and ash, something no one would question. He and William retreated to a safe distance, and then Michael activated the device. Flames quickly engulfed the car, illuminating the dark sky with an intense, destructive glow. William watched, both fascinated and apprehensive, as the fire consumed the vehicle until nothing remained but an unrecognizable structure. To anyone who saw the scene, it would appear as the tragic end of a man on a deserted road. The next morning, news of the accident spread quickly. The charred car had been found, and everyone believed Michael was dead. Rachel received the news with a carefully calculated expression of shock, but her gaze reflected relief. He really isn't here anymore, she murmured to Terry later, as they spoke privately. Terry, unable to hide his grin of satisfaction, replied, now we just wait for the inheritance. Everything we wanted is within our reach. Rachel, pretending to be a grieving widow, began to play the role of the inconsolable wife, receiving condolences with a restrained look. To everyone, she was a woman in deep mourning, but in moments of solitude, she was already planning her new future with Terry. The two, believing that everything had gone as expected, felt increasingly secure and confident that Michael's fortune was within their grasp. Meanwhile, William, who had helped with every detail of the staging, continued to monitor the two, remaining discreet at all times. He observed how Rachel and Terry exchanged satisfied glances and kept discussing details about accessing the inheritance. With every step of the couple in mind, William reported everything to Michael, who was now safe in his hiding place. They're completely convinced you're dead, and they're already thinking the money is guaranteed, William said with seriousness. Michael, listening intently, felt the plan's success drawing near. Now, with confirmation that Rachel and Terry had fallen for the trap, Michael and William were ready to proceed with the next phase. A few days after the staged accident, Rachel and Terry, now officially the widow and mourning brother-in-law, went to Michael's lawyer's office to address the inheritance. The two were convinced that nothing stood between them and Michael's fortune. On the way, Rachel felt a mix of anxiety and excitement she tried to hide at all costs. Terry, by her side, exchanged knowing and confident glances with her, certain that the moment they'd been waiting for had arrived. "Soon, all of this will just be a memory," he said with a discreet smile. Rachel agreed with a slight nod, barely able to contain her excitement. Upon entering the office, they were greeted by Michael's lawyer, who displayed solemn and professional respect. He greeted Rachel and Terry formally, offering them a seat and making it clear that the inheritance process would be handled with the utmost seriousness. "Please be patient. We'll go through all the documents before finalizing anything," the lawyer explained, picking up a hefty folder from the desk. Rachel nodded with a carefully constructed look of grief. She needed to show the lawyer that she was there only as a widow fulfilling formalities, while in truth her heart was in another place, lighter and content. The lawyer began reviewing the will, detailing Michael's assets and each provision carefully. As she listened to the values, the properties, and every detail, Rachel felt her heart race. She could hardly believe what she was hearing. Everything was exactly as she had dreamed. But then, suddenly, the reading of the will took an unexpected turn. "There's a special clause here that was recently added," said the lawyer with a serious look. Rachel and Terry exchanged glances, slightly confused but still maintained their composure. "Just a minor detail, I assume," commented Terry, trying to appear calm without showing any expression. The lawyer continued with the explanation. "The new clause states that Michael's inheritance can only be received by his wife if he dies of natural causes. In the event of an accident or any suspicious circumstance, the wife and her heirs are excluded from the right to the fortune." The lawyer's voice was firm, each word falling on Rachel and Terry like a bomb. They looked at each other in shock, unable to react for a few moments. Rachel tried to keep her composure, but her eyes betrayed the disbelief and anger beginning to surface. This must be a mistake," said Rachel, her voice slightly trembling, trying to remain calm. Terry, beside her, was trying to absorb what he had just heard. "Yes, what's this about? Michael would never do something like that without telling us. I mean, without telling Rachel," he insisted, unable to completely hide his frustration. The lawyer looked at the two with an expression that mixed seriousness with slight disapproval. It was Michael's own decision, and it's duly documented. This clause was added days before the accident. Shock and anger began to show on Rachel's face. She looked at Terry, trying to find an explanation, but all she saw in her brother-in-law's face was the same mixture of frustration and despair. Terry shook his head as if trying to deny what he had heard, while Rachel, now unable to contain her anger, slammed her hands on the desk. "This is unacceptable. He did this on purpose," she exclaimed, the mask of the grieving widow gradually crumbling. The lawyer observed her reaction closely, the coldness in his eyes suggesting that something was out of the ordinary. It was then that an unexpected presence entered the room. Michael, alive and well, accompanied by William, appeared at the office door. The sight of the man they believed they had removed from the picture made Rachel and Terry freeze, shock overtaking their faces. Michael took a few steps forward, his serious and firm gaze fixed on them. "Surprised to see me?" he asked in a calm tone yet laden with indignation. Rachel and Terry were silent, words caught in their throats, unable to form any excuse. William, standing beside Michael, observed the two with a look of contained victory. He had been part of every step of the plan and was now witnessing the truth come to light. Michael took another step forward and, with a firm voice, said, "I know everything. I know about your plan. I know about the conversation in the parking lot. I know how much you wanted to see me out of the way to take my money." The panic and guilt were evident on Rachel and Terry's faces as they tried to absorb the reality that it had all been a trap. Michael advanced slowly across the lawyer's office, each step carrying the weight of betrayal, the disappointment so deep it seemed almost tangible. The silence filling the room was suffocating, and every glance between him, Rachel, and Terry was a nonverbal battle of repressed feelings and exposed intentions. At that moment, the man Rachel and Terry knew was distant. Standing before them was someone hardened by pain, a Michael who bore an immeasurable sadness and an unyielding will to confront the evil he never imagined existed by his side. "So you really thought you could get rid of me, that everything would be perfect for you, with no consequences?" His voice echoed firm, controlled, yet carrying the intensity of someone deeply wounded. Rachel remained silent for a moment, her eyes searching for any reaction of pity, any opening she could use to soften the situation. "Michael, we only wanted," she began, her voice trembling, trying to sound remorseful, but the coldness in Michael's eyes cut off any attempt at manipulation. He would not let her escape with more lies. "Wanted what, Rachel? You wanted everything I built, everything I fought to achieve and shared with you. And you, Terry. I thought we were brothers. And what did you do? Stabbed me in the back?" The impact of each word was devastating. Terry, who had been avoiding Michael's gaze until then, shrank, unable to bear the shame he felt. He knew there was no excuse that could repair what he had done, but still, the attempt at self-defense came almost reflexively. "Michael, it was a mistake. I was confused. Rachel made me believe it was best for her that you were no longer." He began, but Michael interrupted him with a coldness that almost froze the room. "Don't blame Rachel for what you did, Terry. This was your choice. Every step, every detail, you chose to betray me. You chose to believe that my life, my future, could be discarded without consequence." Hearing this, Rachel began to lose control, realizing her last cards were running out. "Michael, we both know that over the years, you distanced yourself. I felt alone, invisible. You were always focused on your business, on your companies, and all I wanted was someone who truly saw me," she said, her voice now elevated, revealing all the anger and frustration she had kept hidden. "I couldn't live in the shadow of a man who was more married to his fortune than to me. If that's betrayal, then I'm sorry, Michael, but I didn't want to keep being just a decorative figure." Michael listened to her words, but any remaining compassion he might have felt had dissolved in the pain and frustration. "And you chose to resolve it by planning my death? Is that how you respond when something seems out of place, Rachel? Instead of talking, instead of seeking a solution, you chose to take me out of the picture as if I were disposable." He turned his gaze to Terry, the deep sadness still evident on his face. "And you, did you ever understand what loyalty is? What family is? Because what you did is as far as one can get from truly being a brother." While Michael spoke, William, who had remained silent by his side, watched each word delivered like a sentence. He, who had overheard Rachel and Terry's whispers, understood the gravity of it all. But watching Michael confront them head-on without fear and with such dignity felt like witnessing the closure of a justice he never imagined possible. The boy's loyalty was unshakable, and he looked at Michael with a mixture of respect and empathy. Then, with calculated calm, Michael turned to the lawyer and gave a slight nod. The lawyer, silent until then, signaled with his head, and the door to the office opened. Two police officers entered, having been called to wait for the moment of the final confrontation. Rachel and Terry, seeing the uniforms, finally realized the depth of their situation. Rachel's mask of calculated coldness broke, she began to struggle, panic finally taking over. "Michael, you can't do this. I loved you, Michael. I did this for us," she screamed, her voice now twisted with rage and panic, desperately trying to justify the unjustifiable. Michael remained firm, unmoved by the screams. "You didn't do this for us, Rachel. You did it for yourself and your greed. If there was an ounce of love, you would have acted differently, but you chose the cruelest way." As the police handcuffed Rachel and Terry, Michael felt a painful relief, as if he were closing a chapter of his life in the most bitter way possible. He watched the two being taken away, each trying in vain to protest, their faces a mix of hatred and regret. In his heart, Michael knew this moment wouldn't bring happiness, but it brought a sense of cold and necessary justice. William, still by his side, watched the outcome with a look of quiet satisfaction. He knew that thanks to his intervention, a bitter truth had come to light and that the man beside him now had a secure future. When the police finally left with Rachel and Terry, leaving a heavy silence in the office, Michael looked at William, and for a moment, the weight of the entire situation seemed to ease. Placing a hand on the boy's shoulder, he said sincerely, "If it weren't for you, kid, I wouldn't be here to see this happen." William, who had stood firm until then, only nodded, feeling that behind this harsh revelation, something new was born, a bond and a trust that nothing could break. After the final confrontation and the arrest of Rachel and Terry, Michael felt the weight of the last few weeks start to dissipate. Though he knew his life would never be the same, the deep betrayal he experienced made him more cautious and aware that trust was precious and not given lightly. Sitting in his office, he thought about the life he would now have to rebuild. And as he looked to his side, he saw William, the street boy who had become his ally and, more than that, his salvation. Michael knew that this boy deserved a better future, far from the dangers and uncertainties of the streets. Michael called William to sit beside him, looking at him with an admiration the boy still didn't fully understand. "You gave me something no one else did, William," said Michael sincerely. "Your loyalty saved me, and I'll never forget it." William, still shy, looked down, trying to contain his emotions. He knew he had done the right thing but hadn't expected recognition. "I just did what I thought was right, Mr. Michael. I couldn't let them do that to you," he replied, his voice almost a whisper. Michael smiled, feeling a different warmth in his chest. He knew there was something special in this boy and that their futures were now intertwined in an unexpected way. Then, with a determination that had been maturing over the last few days, he made a decision that would change William's life forever. "I want you to be part of my family, William," Michael announced, his voice filled with conviction. "I'll take care of you, help you build a future, and, more than that, I'll teach you everything I know so you can grow safely and have the opportunities you deserve." Michael's words held a firmness that made the boy's eyes shine with hope. Michael's will, which had recently been updated to prevent Rachel from inheriting his fortune, was revised once more, this time with an important addition: William would be the main heir. Michael was determined to ensure the boy was prepared to take care of the empire he had built with such effort. The lawyer reviewed the papers while Michael explained each detail of the new decision to William. "This means that in the future, you'll be in charge of everything. But for that, we'll work together, learn everything necessary so you can become a wise and just leader." The news made the boy feel a mix of pride and surprise. William, who had grown up without family or structure, could hardly believe what he was hearing. He tried to hold back tears, but his eyes betrayed his emotions. Michael, sensing the impact of the news, placed a firm hand on his shoulder. "You deserve it, William. And I'll be by your side every step of the way, so you never have to go through the hardships you faced until now." At that moment, something profound was sealed between them, a bond that transcended words. William knew that, alongside Michael, he would have a bright future, but he also felt the responsibility that came with this trust. He silently vowed to honor everything he was receiving and to become a man of value, just as Michael believed he could be. From that day forward, they worked together not only as mentor and apprentice but as a true family, building a future full of possibilities. With the end of the intrigues and the promise of a shared future, Michael and William embarked on a new phase of their lives. For both, it was a rebirth. William, the street boy who had risked everything to save Michael's life, now walked by his side, no longer as a stranger but as a true member of the family they were forming. Michael, in turn, felt transformed. Everything he had gone through in recent months had changed his views on loyalty, trust, and the value of true relationships. The mansion's routine adapted to William's presence, and gradually, Michael introduced him to the secrets of his empire. At first, William felt a bit out of place, as if he were living in a dream that could end at any moment. But Michael, with patience and determination, made sure to show him that he belonged there. "You're going to learn everything I know, kid. I don't want you to just inherit what I built. I want you to understand how everything works, to become someone who leads with intelligence and integrity," Michael would say, each lesson a new step in strengthening William's confidence and skills. Day by day, Michael taught William not only the practical aspects of business but also the importance of solid values. Respect, responsibility, and honesty are what sustain true leadership. "If you carry this with you, you'll be someone who makes a difference," he taught, while William absorbed every word, longing with all his heart to become the kind of man Michael believed he could be. Gradually, the boy's admiration for his mentor turned into a deep desire to become worthy of the trust placed in him. Michael also felt a renewal in his heart. Each day spent with William revealed a new joy, a purpose beyond business success. Watching the boy grow, learn, and transform made him realize that life wasn't just about accumulating wealth but leaving a legacy that truly mattered. "You're my family now, William, and family means support, trust, and always being there," he said one day, watching the boy struggle to overcome the challenges that training brought. This feeling gave Michael a new reason to live, something he never expected to find. They shared moments that went far beyond business, quiet dinners, conversations about life, plans, and laughter that filled the mansion with an energy that had long been absent. For William, this experience was like a new life, a chance for redemption and growth, and beside Michael, he finally found a home, something he had always been denied. Gradually, he gained confidence, exploring the potential Michael saw in him, feeling stronger and more capable each day. As time passed, the bond between Michael and William solidified, and the two formed a true partnership, father and son, mentor and apprentice. And even with the challenges ahead, both knew they would face everything together with the unshakable loyalty they had built. In the mansion, the cold, distant silence had been replaced by something warmer and more alive, a new energy built on mutual trust and respect. It was the beginning of a story of overcoming, friendship, and hope. Michael and William, united by a dark past, now moved toward a bright future. The story of Michael and William shows us that loyalty and trust are the greatest treasures. Michael, a man betrayed by those he loved most, found a true ally in the unlikely William, a street boy who risked everything to save him. Together, they teach us that family is not always those who share our blood but those who choose to stand by us in the most challenging times. As months passed, Michael and William continued building a life together, cementing the trust and family bond they had forged through adversity. Michael was no longer just a businessman, he became a mentor, a father figure, and a source of inspiration for William. For his part, William embraced each lesson, determined to prove himself worthy of the second chance he had been given. In time, Michael's company saw a transformation, not only in how it operated but in its values. Michael had always run his business with a focus on efficiency and profit, but with William by his side, he was reminded of the importance of compassion and integrity. He made changes to ensure the company prioritized fair practices, transparency, and community engagement. Michael believed that success wasn't just about wealth, it was about positively impacting the lives of others. William, now learning the ropes of the business, was a constant presence at Michael's side. The young boy, once lost and unseen on the streets, was now a part of something larger. His influence on Michael and the business brought a fresh perspective, and his insights often surprised the experienced staff. William had a unique ability to empathize with the company's employees and clients. His life on the streets had taught him resilience, empathy, and understanding, qualities that now made him an invaluable asset to the company. To ensure William's growth, Michael enrolled him in specialized courses, from business and finance to public speaking and leadership training. William excelled, impressing his teachers and peers. His dedication was evident, and his journey from homelessness to a position of influence inspired many people around him. As word of William's story spread, the company began to attract media attention. Michael and William agreed to share their story, hoping it would encourage others to reach out and help those in need. Articles and interviews highlighted their journey, depicting the power of kindness and second chances. The story of a street boy who stopped a plot against a millionaire's life and was later adopted into his family became a tale that captivated the public's imagination. Soon, Michael and William were invited to speak at various events and charitable functions. They used these opportunities to advocate for underprivileged youth and support organizations that helped homeless children, providing them with shelter, education, and a path to a better life. Michael's business became actively involved in community outreach programs, using its resources to fund youth programs and mentorship initiatives. For William, these events were eye-opening. Seeing so many children struggling as he once did filled him with purpose. He felt a profound responsibility to make a difference, to be a voice for those who couldn't speak for themselves. Standing beside Michael on stages and in front of audiences, he shared his story of survival and redemption, encouraging others to have hope and to never give up. One night, after a particularly moving event, Michael and William returned home to the mansion. Sitting together in the living room, they reflected on the journey they had taken together. The mansion, once a symbol of wealth and solitude, had become a home filled with warmth, laughter, and purpose. The bond they shared was deeper than any friendship or family connection they had ever known. William, you've given me something priceless, Michael said, looking at him with a proud smile. You've reminded me of what truly matters. Wealth is meaningless if it doesn't improve the lives of others. William nodded, his gaze full of admiration for the man who had taken him in. And you've given me a life I never thought I'd have. Because of you, I know I can make a difference. The two sat in comfortable silence, each filled with gratitude for the other. They knew their partnership had transformed them both in ways neither could have anticipated. Over time, William took on more responsibilities in the business. His fresh ideas and compassionate approach attracted positive attention from clients and employees alike. He implemented programs within the company to support employee well-being, including counseling services and educational scholarships. Under William's influence, the company culture evolved to reflect the values that Michael and William now held dear: trust, respect, and empathy. Michael and William continued to expand their charitable efforts, founding an organization dedicated to helping homeless and at-risk youth. They named it the Second Chance Foundation. Through the foundation, they offered scholarships, mentorship, and resources to young people who, like William, needed someone to believe in them. The foundation became a beacon of hope for hundreds of children, giving them the opportunities they deserved. Years passed, and Michael watched with pride as William grew into a strong, confident leader. The young boy he had once found in desperation had become a man of integrity, guiding others with the same compassion that had once saved Michael's life. The legacy they built together stood as a testament to their journey, a symbol of resilience, forgiveness, and the power of second chances. One day, as Michael prepared to retire, he announced that he would be passing the reins of his company to William. The decision was met with admiration and respect from the business community, who had come to see William as a capable and principled leader. In his retirement speech, Michael said, "William has taught me more about strength and character than anyone I've ever known. It's with full confidence that I leave this company in his hands, knowing he will lead it with the same values that brought us here." The audience erupted in applause, and William, standing beside Michael, felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. He knew that this journey would never have been possible without Michael's trust and belief in him. With his mentor by his side, William accepted his new role with humility and a promise to uphold the legacy they had built together. The business, under William's leadership, continued to thrive, expanding its impact on the community and touching lives far beyond what either of them had ever imagined. Years later, as he reflected on his journey, William often visited the foundation, spending time with the children and young adults it supported. He saw himself in each of them and knew that his mission was far from over. Through his work, he continued to honor Michael's legacy, carrying forward the lessons of love, loyalty, and the belief that anyone, no matter their past, could achieve greatness. And so, Michael and William's story became a legend of its own, a story of redemption, resilience, and the unbreakable bond between two people who, against all odds, found family in each other. Decades later, the Second Chance Foundation had become one of the most influential organizations dedicated to supporting and empowering young people in need. Under William's guidance, it grew to reach across the country, with programs that offered shelter, education, job training, and mentorship for thousands of children and teenagers. The story of how it all began, with a boy on the streets overhearing a plot and bravely intervening to save a man's life, was told to every new participant who entered the foundation's doors. It was a story of courage and hope, a reminder that one small action could alter the course of countless lives. As the foundation expanded, William became a revered figure, both in business and philanthropy. He often spoke at universities, conferences, and public events, sharing his journey from homelessness to leadership, emphasizing the power of kindness and second chances. His words inspired young people around the world, and many of them joined his mission, volunteering with the foundation or pursuing careers dedicated to social change. With Michael no longer by his side, William carried forward the lessons his mentor had imparted. He kept a photograph of them together in his office, a symbol of their journey and the friendship that had transformed both their lives. Michael's influence lived on not only through William but also through the values that had shaped the foundation and the company they had built together. In honor of Michael's legacy, William established an annual scholarship program in his mentor's name. The Michael Hale Scholarship was awarded to young people who had overcome significant hardships and demonstrated the courage, resilience, and leadership qualities that Michael had exemplified. Each year, recipients were celebrated at a special ceremony where they shared their own stories of triumph and resilience, inspired by Michael and William's example. One day, during a ceremony for the foundation's anniversary, William was approached by a young man who reminded him of his own past. The boy, who had been homeless before finding refuge at the foundation, expressed his gratitude to William for saving his life. He had heard William's story many times, but finally meeting him in person was a moment he had longed for. "Thank you, Mr. William," the boy said, his voice full of emotion. "I don't know where I'd be without this place. You've given me hope." William smiled, feeling both humbled and grateful. "No need to thank me," he replied, placing a hand on the boy's shoulder. "Just remember that this journey isn't only mine, it's yours too now. Go out there, build something good, and remember that you have the power to change the world, one act of kindness at a time." As he spoke, William felt the same sense of purpose that had guided him since the day he first met Michael. He understood now, more than ever, the profound impact of being given a chance to make a difference. He had been saved by a stranger's trust, and he was committed to passing that trust forward for the rest of his life. The foundation continued to grow, with new branches opening in cities and towns across the nation. William's vision extended beyond providing temporary relief. He wanted to create a lasting movement for change. With the help of a dedicated team, he developed programs that addressed the root causes of poverty, homelessness, and inequality, believing that lasting solutions came through community, opportunity, and education. Years turned into decades, and William eventually entrusted the foundation to a new generation of leaders, many of whom had been helped by the foundation themselves. These young leaders, inspired by William's example, carried forward the values of loyalty, resilience, and integrity that he and Michael had instilled. Through their efforts, the foundation remained a beacon of hope, guiding countless individuals toward a brighter future. In his later years, William often reflected on his journey. The mansion that had once symbolized a life of wealth and solitude was now a place of community and kindness, a gathering spot for those who shared in the foundation's mission. He walked its halls, filled with memories of his life with Michael, and knew that he had fulfilled his mentor's dream of creating a legacy that would outlast them both. In his final days, William wrote a memoir, recounting his journey from the streets to becoming the head of one of the nation's most impactful foundations. The book, titled Second Chances, A Legacy of Love and Loyalty, became a bestseller, inspiring people worldwide to believe in the power of redemption and resilience. Through his words, William hoped to remind readers that everyone has the capacity to change lives, even their own. When William eventually passed away, he was remembered not only for his success but for the profound compassion that had defined his life's work. His story, like Michael's, became a legend, a story of friendship, family, and the enduring impact of second chances. To this day, the Second Chance Foundation continues to honor the legacy of Michael and William, helping those in need and serving as a testament to the transformative power of kindness, loyalty, and resilience. Their story lives on in every young person whose life has been changed by their example, a reminder that true success is found not in wealth or power, but in the hearts of those we lift up along the way. Years after William's passing, the Second Chance Foundation remained as influential as ever. The organization, now run by a new generation of leaders who had once been helped by it, continued to uphold the values that Michael and William had set forth. The foundation had grown into a nationwide network, with centers in every major city, offering support, education, and resources to children, teenagers, and young adults. Among the new generation of leaders was a young woman named Ella, who had found her way to the foundation as a teenager. Homeless and facing hardship, she'd once sought shelter at a Second Chance Foundation center, where she'd received the support she needed to finish school and eventually earn a college degree. Over time, Ella became deeply committed to the foundation's mission. Her life had been transformed by the kindness and opportunities provided by people she had never met, Michael and William, and she felt a duty to pass on that gift to others. Ella often revisited the stories of Michael and William, drawing strength from their example. She knew their journey by heart, how William, a boy from the streets, had risked everything to save a man he didn't know, how Michael had trusted him and taken him in his family, and how together, they'd built a legacy that transcended wealth and status. The story wasn't just a part of the foundation's history, it was a guiding principle for how to live and lead with compassion and integrity. As Ella worked her way up in the organization, she became known for her dedication to the foundation's mission. She spent countless hours with the young people in the foundation's care, sharing her own story and reminding them that they, too, could overcome any hardship with courage and resilience. Her presence reminded others of William, who had once done the same, sitting with children who had nowhere else to turn, offering hope to those who had lost faith. In honor of Michael and William's legacy, Ella launched a new initiative within the foundation called the Legacy Project. Its goal was to teach young people the importance of giving back, showing them that each of them had the power to create change in their communities. The program focused on mentorship, encouraging participants to reach out to others who were struggling, just as William had reached out to Michael all those years ago. The Legacy Project inspired a wave of young leaders who dedicated their lives to service and kindness. It wasn't long before Ella's vision extended beyond the foundation itself. Schools, businesses, and even government programs began adopting similar models, emphasizing empathy, mentorship, and community building as core values. This ripple effect, rooted in the courage of a homeless boy and the generosity of a millionaire, began to reshape how people understood success and fulfillment. One year, on the anniversary of the foundation's founding, a memorial statue of Michael and William was unveiled outside the foundation's headquarters. It depicted them standing side by side, symbolizing their enduring bond and their shared legacy. Beneath the statue was a plaque that read, "True wealth lies in the lives we touch." Michael Hale and William Brooks taught us that compassion and courage can change the world, one heart at a time. At the statue's dedication, Ella spoke to a crowd of foundation members, supporters, and families who had been helped by the foundation over the years. "We're here today because two people believed in the power of second chances," she said, her voice filled with emotion. Michael and William's story is not just history, it's our guiding light. They taught us that every life has value, and every person has the capacity for greatness. Let us honor their legacy by continuing to stand up for those who need a voice, by giving a hand to those who need help, and by building a future where compassion and loyalty lead the way. As Ella finished her speech, the crowd erupted into applause, moved by the legacy they were all a part of. Families and individuals who had been touched by the foundation gathered around the statue, leaving flowers and notes of gratitude. Some shared their own stories of hardship and triumph, reflecting on how the foundation had changed their lives. In every note, there was a common theme: gratitude, resilience, and the recognition that their lives had been transformed by the kindness of two people who had dared to stand up for what was right. Over the years, the Legacy Project expanded, with branches in different countries, carrying forward the message of hope and second chances on a global scale. The impact of Michael and William's story was felt in places they had never set foot, by people who hadn't been born during their time. But their values lived on, embodied by people like Ella and the countless others who had been inspired by their example. As the world changed, the foundation continued to grow, evolving with each new challenge but never losing sight of the ideals that had built it. Whenever a new member joined the foundation, they were told the story of Michael and William. The message was simple yet powerful: no matter who you are, where you come from, or what you've faced, you have the power to create a better world through kindness, courage, and the willingness to believe in others. And so, the legacy of Michael and William endured, passed down through generations, a testament to the idea that true success is measured not by what we gain but by what we give. Their story, a tale of loyalty, redemption, and the unbreakable bond between two unlikely friends, became a guiding light for those who sought to make a difference. Today, the Second Chance Foundation stands as a living symbol of their vision, a reminder that even in the darkest moments, there is always hope. Michael and William may have passed on, but their legacy, built on trust, compassion, and resilience, remains as strong as ever, inspiring countless people to believe in the power of second chances and to live with purpose, generosity, and love.